Hey everybody, I'm here with Chai McClean from the Chai Toads. How are you, Chai?
I'm doing awesome. Really happy to be on the show. Thanks so much.
Me too. Thank you for, just juggling schedules. We all have busy lives, and I do appreciate you making time
Absolutely.
to be on the show today.
Absolutely.
I was introduced to you through Matthew Clark from Colorado Instrumental Fanzine.
Yep.
He had said he sent you my way. He's like, "What do you think?" I'm like, "This is fucking bonkers." I'm like, "Who is this guy?" So
He's fantastic, right? I just met him not long before you, but he is so plugged in. He's out of Colorado. I'm like, how do you know all these surf and instrumental rock guys? It's just incredible the people he's connected to. So anyway, big thanks to him for connecting the dots with us here. Really great.
Yeah, I don't know if you can see we're kindred spirits because I don't know him well enough.
Yeah.
But he sends people my way, and we send each other, like, we include each other on, like, collaborations and stuff like that.
Right.
And he connects a lot of the dots as well, which is important. Which is important. So that's my goal, is to, like, get everybody aware of each other, you know.
Well, that's one of the things that I'm really, and I don't mean to kind of bulldoze the conversation here, but you just touched on something that I think is kind of interesting. I had no idea how much of a community there is around this instrumental and, all the surf rock scene, right? It's a really strong, passionate group of people, from as far as I can tell. And I'm kind of new to it, to be perfectly honest. And it's really refreshing and cool, especially having been involved in some other genres, right? So I love it. It's pretty fun. Yeah, everybody seems really supportive, it's kind of unusual, I think, in the music business, right?
Yeah, that's part of, I mean, like, we all like different genres of music in different scenes, and we meet people along the way.
Yeah.
But there's not quite a scene as welcoming as the surf scene.
Right.
And just the most fun to talk to, because they all enjoy adding their influences into surf, and that's always cool to see.
Yeah.
What I wanted to talk to you about is how you stumbled into surf music, and you can see the record down here. It's on vinyl and it's on Bandcamp, which still be a link. But I want to know, for somebody who says they're fairly new to surf, it sounds like you've been doing it for decades.
Aha. Well, I've been surfing for a really long time. So that's kind of in my core, that's in my heart, that's in my blood. And how did I get into it? I think just because of that, you'll see here, living in Nashville, Tennessee, right? There's not an ocean anywhere near us down here, right? So I think at a certain point, I missed it enough that I thought, well, how can I create some way to be connected to the ocean and surfing and riding waves without actually being there? And as a musician, the natural response was, I don't know, let's maybe see if we can make a song or two. And I started thinking about, all those journeys up and down the Pacific Coast Highway, from San Francisco, where I lived for a long time, all the way down to northern Baja, as far south as Ensenada, and back, and then up to Oregon, and just the people I met along the way. And I just started having this fun series of memories. And interestingly, the music came out as sort of a journal or diary of those travels and those waves and those people I met. And it just, after that first song, one thing happened to another, and I just kept making more. And obviously, as somebody who likes to study music a little bit, I was referencing a lot of the classic 60s stuff. So
Yep.
I hate to say studying, but I was really studying, okay, what were the Ventures doing? What was their, like, melodic structure? What were they going after? What was Dick Dale doing? What was Dwayne Eddy doing? Who incidentally lived in his later years just south of Nashville in Franklin, Tennessee. And I tried to kind of sort of fit in that zone because it was so fun, right? And then just impart some of my own life experience into that. So I don't know, that's sort of a circuitous answer to your question, but I think that's how I found my way there, really just trying to find some level of connectedness to the ocean again, being so far away.
Yeah, awesome. I don't think studying music or popular music or like a music genre, I don't think that's in any way negative, because when you pick it as a player, I know,
Yeah.
when you pick it up, you have to pick up every nuance, and they're like, what is it I'm hearing that I'm not doing correctly?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you kind of just practice until you understand it, and then once you get into that world, and things start understanding a little bit more, you come out with a record like that.
Well, it was, the other thing that sort of led me here, which I haven't talked really to many people about, frankly, is, it was sort of a dark path getting to this point, to be honest. I moved to Nashville in the first place to pursue a career as a singer-songwriter, Americana, dare I say, Southern rock, country rock, and had produced and released a couple records on my own, and then ended up working with a guy who had a pretty significant track record. And we got so far along, but it ended up not being the right fit. I mean, we all know the story in music, like creative differences, right? So these were pretty significant creative differences, but I was so far along in the project and so far invested that I was committed at this point.
You wanted to finish it.
I wanted to finish it, but I didn't see a way out. And in the process, he was trying to do what he thought was right, but he changed everything about me, from my playing to my writing to my singing. And it got me so out of whack creatively that I pulled the plug and stepped away completely. And obviously I wanted to get reconnected to surf and the ocean and everything, but I also wanted to find some way of getting back to music. I almost was ready to throw in the towel, to be perfectly honest. I was like, this just doesn't feel fun anymore. And that's why we get into this in the first place, right? It's not to make money, it's to create something cool and capture a feeling. And so this was one of these like happy, carefree, go lucky music discovery moments for me, where I just really wanted to find, sounds corny, but just find the joy in creating again. And interestingly, the first thing I went to was this surf thing, because it was new in so many ways, and was so different from what I was doing, in that Americana world. And so yeah, it's that's the other story. That's the more intellectual story.
Well, tell me what you when you say Americana, like what was the definition of what you were shooting for in there?
Creatively, or from the surf thing, like on American?
Yep.
Well, I'm a huge classic rock guy, right? I mean, I grew up just listening incessantly to Hendrix, Clapton, Cream, Yardbirds, Zeppelin, Santana. You might hear a lot of hand percussion, the surf stuff, but just going back to the Americana thing, Black Crowes, Rolling Stones, Allman Brothers, Skynyrd. I loved the Southern rock thing, and somehow that's just what I naturally gravitated towards. I haven't paid much attention to the McClean website, but if you went on the streaming stuff, Spotify or whatever, and you looked up me, you'd find a couple records up there that were kind of in that sort of Almonds meets Kenny Loggins, Black Crowes kind of thing. And I had a lot of fun doing that. I would do up to 180 days a year on the road, living out of a van, setting up speakers and playing solo acoustic gigs, And I that's kind of why I moved to Nashville from California in the first place, to kind of pursue that side of music.
Music City.
Yeah, Music City, Songtown. So, it's in some ways, I think that helped me sort of make sense out of, melody, creating a song, and then some structure, even if, in this case, for the surf stuff, there are no lyrics, right? There's still, the guitar becomes the melody, becomes the voice. So, like, how do you create a song with just the instrumental elements?
Right.
So I think there was some symbiotic stuff going on there between what I used to do and what I'm doing now. Who knows?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, when you're in when you're in like, I don't know, Surf City.
Yeah.
You have Anaheim, Long Beach. You have
Well, that's the question, right? Like, is Santa Cruz Surf City, USA, or is Huntington Beach? Because
Huntington Beach.
there's a big argument, right?
I would say, as far as music, I would say Southern California.
HP. Yeah, absolutely.
As far as actual surfing, I used to just sit there on not Ocean Drive, whatever was the one over where all the shops were.
Are in Santa Cruz?
Yeah, and then there's the pier.
Yeah, so maybe it was like East Cliff or West Cliff that goes by Steamer Lane, and then like Pleasure Point in that area. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to go to the Catalyst a lot to see bands.
Great venue. Yeah.
Yeah, I lived out in Monterey for a while. So the Central Coast, I find, is really, really my favorite spot in the state.
Mm-hmm.
Probably Santa Cruz might be my favorite city I've ever been to.
Yeah.
So I did see a lot of people in San Francisco, crazily, because there were a lot of rocks there.
Yep.
And in Santa Cruz, surfing a whole lot all year round.
Yeah.
I spent more time in Santa Cruz, and I'd just be like, man, it's so cold out here. What are they doing?
Yeah, wetsuits definitely was, that was a good invention. I can't imagine surfing in the old days without anything, or like a wool sweater like they used to. That's just bonkers. I'm not that hardcore. I want all the rubber, all the neoprene I can get.
Yeah. The point I was trying to make was, you're in a environment pretty much like Nashville.
Yep.
From where, I've never been there, but the impression I get is that's where people go to make music, like solely to make music. Am I perceiving that correctly?
Well, that was my perception when I started coming here and then ultimately moved here. Yeah, I just thought, great music scene in California, up and down the coast, from San Francisco, where I lived for a good long while, and then obviously in Los Angeles. But for some reason here, the opportunities to collaborate, the access to people in the business, whether it's an engineer or a songwriter or a player, somebody you want to hire, or a mix or mastering person, in most cases, they're just within a couple blocks from you, and you might just bump into them in the coffee shop or something, right? Or at a show on Monday night. And that is just not something I've ever really had access to. I've never been able to be immersed in it that way. So to your point, yeah, I mean, that's why I think people, if you're a musician, if you're creative, if you're in that space, that's why you come here. There are lots of other great things about Tennessee, obviously, and certainly about Davidson County and Nashville, but from a music standpoint, it is just so rich in that creative energy and access. But not so much in the surf, right?
Well, I would know because I'm not there.
Yeah. But you
can
look at a map and figure that out, right?
Yeah. I know in my area, there's far more surf musicians than I would have ever realized. The more I start digging, and there's like 3 or 4 in Philly, and then 3 or 4 in Scranton, and then 3 or 4 in New York, and then Jersey, and I would have never known that were places that you were going to be able to find surf.
Well, case in point, I don't know if it was you or it might have been, somebody along the way turned me on to the Southern Surf Stomp outside of Atlanta a couple weekends ago.
Yeah, Chad Shivers.
Yeah, and I went down there, I guess over there, and it was unbelievable. There were like 10, I think, bands, maybe 11 bands, 12, and it wrapped up with Eddie Angel from Los Straitjackets at the end, which was killer. But I mean, where are these guys coming from? They were all from Georgia, right? I was like, what the heck? And then there was one band that came in from Indiana, I think, and I was like, I had no clue that these bands, that this community existed. And then, of course, all the fans out there in the park listening that day. It was just really cool. They're everywhere. We're everywhere.
You guys are actually. And part of my thing with, I know the surf scene is huge, and a lot of people don't know that just because they don't know that each other exists.
Yeah. Case in point right here. I'm like, every day,
Yeah.
what?
It's kind of cool. Like, I was trying to figure out my way, like, what was I going to do with this podcast? And it's kind of like, oh, well, bring awareness. And also inform other bands that, hey, this band exists. And I noticed that some people pick up on it and they go, hey, I saw this band on there, I picked up the record, and thank you.
Yeah.
And like other bands will get like trade shows out of it. Like,
yeah,
that's a more rewarding feeling, because a lot of people say the same thing. I didn't know these people existed. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's talk
oh, sorry.
Yeah, let's talk about.
I didn't mean to derail you on that one.
Oh no, not at all. Not at all. If you had something to add, go ahead.
No, I mean, I think it just goes back to that concept of community that we touched on earlier on. I don't know if we were on camera or not, but just seems that everybody in this instrumental surf space is just really passionate about not just keeping the genre alive, but seeing that it thrives. I know that sounds corny, but just seeing that it grows and that it spreads and that people hear it, and then and creating that collaborative feeling, whether that's a live performance with a couple bands from different parts of the country, or whether that's, somebody sitting in with another band on a recording, or connecting to radio stations or podcasts like yours, reviews. I just think that's so cool. I personally have not experienced that. It seems less competitive and more supportive so far, right? I think that's just so neat. So.
I think because it's more underground and it's like for fans by fans kind of thing.
Yeah. I think that's a really good way of explaining it. Yeah. It's interesting. I don't, when I was doing the songwriter thing, I felt very precious about my contacts, about what I was doing, who I was working with, where I was going, the shows, the tours I was booking. And again, I'm still pretty new here. This is my first foray into it, really. But again, it just, the outpouring of support from not just listeners, but other musicians and bands and people like you that want to help and connect and grow. I think it's just, I don't know, I just haven't experienced that before.
I think all of us have, like you said, there's a precious, you feel precious about sharing certain things because of like the competitive nature of the music business.
Yeah.
But I don't find that here. If somebody ever, asks for a favor, then you're in the wrong place, and I don't necessarily see that in what I'm doing.
Yeah.
As long as you always just put out there, in a giving way, like without asking, like just then that's kindness. So if everybody treats the scene with kindness.
Yeah. There's a book that I got turned on to. You may have read it, and I know a lot of people, creative folks, have checked it out, but it's by Rick Rubin, that producer. It's called The Creative Act. Have you heard of that, or have you read it?
No, but
it's really good.
I'm also not a producer, but he has some wonderful long form interviews that he does where he talks about his philosophy, and other people talk about his philosophy, and he's like, I'm not a musician, like he knows what sound, like what he wants to hear, so he's more about the emotional.
Yeah. Well, the thing where I was going with that is it was a really easily digestible book, I thought, and I almost keep it as a reference manual. I got it when I was trying to make some creative decisions, some mixed decisions and things, and I just was kind of at an impasse, and I started to lose track as to why I was even doing this in the first place. I started to kind of look at the advertising marketing side of it, and then I had to kind of check myself and go back, okay, why did you do this in the first place? This was to have fun, rediscover something in yourself, and learn something, and just go back to the art thing. But anyway, long story longer, there's a line in there, or maybe it's the title of one of the chapters. It's the gist is basically that what we're doing as creatives, as artists, is we're making offerings, right? And it sounds corny and like pseudo guru-ish, but we're really kind of making these offerings to the universe and to other people, to friends, to family, to strangers. This is us. This is who we are. This is what we want to share. This is a feeling. And I think for me anyway, if I can remember that, it helps ground me back into the artistic, creative side of it. And I think again, like this offering, this communal vibe it's all part of that, like general offering, right? Just creating something cool where the sum of the parts is greater than the whole. I don't know if I had that expression correctly or not, but I think you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think once you're in, I always, like I always equated to my job where I had to be hyper focused. I had to be aware of all the things that were going on with, around me, and all the monitors and like who was doing what. But in what I've been doing, I was also had to be hyper focused on exactly what it is that I was going to do.
Yeah.
As a part of that, that whole, my piece of the puzzle, which was, kind of like taking all the pieces and putting it together.
Right.
And that's kind of like what I'm applying that to here. Like, as long as I keep my head down and do the work, like all the like nonsense and bullshit kind of falls away, and then I'm just doing it. I'm just doing what I like, and this is what I like.
Yeah. And you were doing that in live television, right? And so, I mean, you got to be on it, and you're just, as you said, hyper focused. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's
live
cool.
Television is the best. It's like playing live music, and when I couldn't, provide for a family doing that, I found a lot of joy in doing live television.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of just as gritty as being a musician, whereas it can get crazy at times in any setting. Like the music world is. I'm sure when you explain it to other people, they don't quite see it the way you get to see it behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And TV, like we're a rough bunch, and I don't think that like comes across a lot.
like a gang of pirates, maybe.
Exactly.
Is that right? Okay.
Well, it's funny you say that because there was a guy, an audio guy I worked with, and he had a Jolly Roger flat, like a license plate.
Yeah.
He's like, do you know what that means? I'm like, I kind of do.
That's cool.
Yeah, so, all right, let's get to the album.
Okay. Yeah,
So
keep me on track.
No, this is all good. This is all good things. This won't be edited, so whatever happens here is good with me.
Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah, nothing bad. So I noticed you were releasing some stuff along the way up to your album.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't quite find out about your album until you reached out to me, which is one of my favorite things when somebody seeks out me to talk to, because I don't usually see that, and I never see it coming. And then when you're like, I want you to listen to this, and I was like, oh. And then when you get it, I mean, it sounds like there was a lot of thought and heart and soul put into the record, and you released kind of things along the way, and then you decided to put out a vinyl.
Mm-hmm.
And I really wanted to get into like the nuts and bolts of why that record sounds as clean and as well written and played, like.
Well, thank you for saying that.
Yeah, what made you make the Chi-Tone sound the way it does?
I think, we talked earlier about some of the inspiration and how I got into the whole surf instrumental genre to begin with. I think it I know this sounds sort of like a cop-out, but it sort of just happened organically. The cool thing about this, I was sort of learning how to record on my own for the first time, really making an effort to do it when I was doing this. So there was that discovery moment. But that being said, there was no time limit. I hadn't hired an engineer and a producer and session musicians. It was just me, so I could experiment with stuff. And if I didn't like it, I could delete it or mute it and try something until I got it right. Or if I kind of stumbled upon something, I could chase it down and just randomly go pull some percussion off of a shelf and be like, oh, what does this sound like? Let's throw some maracas in here. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And that sort of opens the door. So I had a plan. I would start everything on an acoustic guitar to get that melody down, kind of a loose structure, but I sort of let the songs do what they did. I don't know if that's answering your question. Going to the clean or the engineering side of things, I tried to capture more of a live performance, even though it was me playing a lot of the stuff and overdubbing it. I don't have, I'm in the room where we recorded this. There's no sound treatment. It's terrible. Any professional engineer would come in here and be like, what the heck are you doing? This is awful. And it is. But at the same time, let's think about some of those old recordings, the technology we have now, they didn't have. There was weird trash cans being knocked over. There was echoes off the windows and stuff. So I could get away with some of that. All that being said, the mix engineer, Buckley Miller, also here in Nashville, really helped make sense of my rough mixes and my sessions, and added his creative touch and his ear to the project, and kind of made a lot of these things make sense. I kind of was there and you could hear what I was doing, but I would reach out to him and kind of go, well, this is kind of what I was going for, but I couldn't figure out technically how to get that to sit. These are the parts, and the parts are there, but how does this work? And he's like, oh yeah, we just do this, we drop this frequency. I'm like, amazing. And I was just like, I don't know that I'll ever know how to do that. That's why you're a professional, whatever. But this record would not have happened without his help. I would send him these AM mixes, that's what I jokingly call them, and they come back sounding like, well, what you're hearing. And I was like, wow, that's sweet. And that's what a great mix engineer is supposed to do, right?
Yeah, totally.
And then fortunately, a guy that I've worked with in the past on some of my songwriter stuff, this guy Ryan Smith, who works at Sterling Sound here in Nashville, actually just a couple blocks from me. He did the master, and he was a Dick Dale fan. I can't play Dick Dale. I don't think this sounds like Dick Dale music, but he understood where I was trying to go, and just, again, another set of ears, some of that creative mojo that only that person has. And thank goodness they were willing to work on all this stuff, because again, that's why it sounds the way it does, I think.
What did you use amp wise, your gear, your reverb, your amp, your guitar?
Sure.
I saw you before the interview playing a Strat, I think.
So this is not a fancy Strat. This is my very first guitar ever. It is I didn't get it in '86, but it's a 1986, I think, Japanese Strat. It was $380 or $400 way back then, and I still have it. And it's the only electric guitar that was on this record. Which was really kind of fun. It was I've got a couple other guitars, but for some reason this was the one. Not a fancy guitar, nothing special, but everything up to 10, toggle switch down to the bridge pickup. So that was really cool, kind of a walk down memory lane to do that. Amp wise, I almost hesitate to say this. I've got two amps that I really love. One is that I've had for a long time. It's a PV Classic 50 410 that I used and would mic, and then I used a Princeton Reverb, and I didn't yet have the Fender Spring Reverb units, so I just used those. And then again, I feel like the purists will laugh it off, but I would add reverb and stuff kind of along the way and recreate some of those room sounds, because as I mentioned, I was doing a lot of overdubs. It was just me playing this stuff, except for Miles on the drums, Miles McPherson here in Nashville. And I wasn't sure how everything was going to fit in together yet. It's not like we were a band of 4 or 5 people in a room kind of sussing it out. So a lot of that was done in post as I was kind of mixing the tracks together, getting ready to send a mix. But then I also used, truthfully, again, the purists will scoff, but I used some stuff from Universal Audio. There was a Tweed Deluxe 55 from Fender. It was an amplifier modulation that just sounded so killer for what I was trying to go for, like a little bit of breakup, which is not a normal surf tone, right? But for me, it sounded great, so I used that a lot. Yeah. And then from a reverb standpoint, I used some spring reverb, but I ended up using a lot of room reverb as well, because I wanted it, again, doing the overdub stuff, I wanted it to feel like all the parts were in the same room playing together. So I would kind of create this sound and try and make it seem like everybody was, we were a band playing together in one room, tracking live the way, a true band back in the 60s would. So
yeah. I don't think I think people get a misconception about surf purists, whereas they kind of scoff at it. I would say more so the musicians don't.
Mm-hmm.
They would, however, tell you should be doing this.
Yeah.
But that in no way influences if they're listening to your music or not, or not enjoying it.
Yeah.
They would just, I think in their own way they would just say, yeah, this would really help you. Is more of the approach that they would take. I don't think they would scoff at your music over something like that.
But it was, I appreciate that, but it was really interesting. To be honest, I saw the band The Mermen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I would go to the Surfrider Foundation and Save the Wave Foundation events in San Francisco when I was living there as a surfer, and I saw the Mermen play, and I was like, that was really cool. But that's really the only surf rock band I ever saw, and they're sort of a more, my take, at least on that show, is like a little bit more psychedelic, heavy, out there, jammy, which I thought was really cool. But when I went to that thing in Decatur, or outside of Athens, Decatur. Well, anyway, the Surf Stomp Fest we were talking about.
Yeah.
I saw up to 10 different bands, and a lot of them were in, like, I guess the traditional trad surf sound, and it was an eye opener in terms of how they got that sound, how they used the reverb tanks. There was definitely a sound, and those guys were nailing it, And I was like, like, I didn't use that verb, and there was a reason. There was like a creative choice, and then there was also like, well, I don't know how to get that, and I don't have the equipment to get that. But now that I'm hearing it as I'm creating new stuff, I'm sort of like, all right, like maybe that's a different kind of color in the palette that I can use, should use, might want to use. It was really cool to hear all that. And again, back to the community thing. When I was talking to the guys after their sets, they were just they're like, yeah, this is what we do, and like, you might want to try this. I'm like, no one ever like shares stuff about their tone or how they get that sound. Like, that's that's so cool,
Yeah, this I learned through this channel. A lot of the people that would even look at this channel want to know about that.
Yeah.
And a lot of the musicians are happy to share it because, for lack of a better word, we all like to geek out on why things sound the way they do, and we love to talk about it.
Yeah, a lot of the, for me, the stuff was, again, I think I mentioned, I was just also sort of learning how to record myself, to be perfectly honest. So I didn't really know what I was doing in terms of mic placements. I just put something there, turn a knob up, and they're like, yeah, I mean, sounds like a guitar. I don't know. Let's press record and see what happens. And I just always tried to remind myself that like it was I was going after a performance and a feel, and the sound was definitely important, but that was like secondary. I knew that I could maybe massage that after the fact, but if I could capture a moment, that's what I was really after. But yeah, it was the whole discovery process of going through this it was pretty overwhelming, but also really fun. I mean, there were a lot of kind of like these moments where like, oh, I can't believe I did that, or I forgot to press record, or I didn't have this thing on, or whatever. And then some other moments where like just some stupid thing happened and I played back and was like, no way, that's so cool. I'm going to keep that, and just like laughing. It was just, felt like a kid again. It was really cool.
Yeah, when you say, organic, there's a lot of accidents that happen along the way when you're either writing, playing, rehearsing, recording.
Yeah.
That, we always chalk that up to, when I was playing, or that's punk rock, or other people say, oh, that's rock and roll. That's that element that maybe other styles of music don't have. Like rock and roll just allows for that,
those accidents to happen, right?
Yeah.
It creates the opportunity for that.
Spontaneity.
Spontaneity, yeah, there you go. My brain wasn't firing on all cylinders either yet, so.
But it's an excellent record. We reviewed it on the channel, and I wanted to make sure that happened, so people at least knew that you were gonna be on, and everybody can find that on Bandcamp, and I really appreciate you coming on after such a busy weekend and week for you, and
absolutely.
I know how difficult schedules can be, and things on my end or what a guest end could sometimes go left or right. I'm always happy when somebody's into it enough that they say, yeah, let's do this, we'll make it happen.
Yeah.
And then that just shows to me that, while I get disheartened sometimes when, things fall through, and sometimes a number of things fall through at the same time.
Yep.
And it's kind of like shit, It makes you want to give up, and then, Chai hits me up and he's like, no, I really want to do this. And then the next day goes, I really want to do this. And then it's like, okay, so they do want to do this.
Yeah.
And like, you know what I mean? So what I'm trying to say is I'm grateful to you that you came on today, and you're a really, really cool guy. And I think if you keep doing the surf thing a lot, you're going to make enough friends, and you know how it works,
Yeah. I'm just flattered that you invited me to join your show. I think this is so cool. This is the first thing I've done like this, honestly, for this project, and I'm flattered and just super grateful to be with you on your platform to do it. It's just such a great, what you're doing is really cool. You're supporting a lot of people out there in the trenches, and in case you didn't know, it goes a really long way, and I think I speak for everybody when I say that we're super grateful for your support.
I hope so. I always, if somebody, whether it be Matthew or Mel from the Woodhavens, or Chad Shivers, or Johnny Fink, like, somebody reaches out to me and says, you should really look at these guys, I'll listen to the music and say, yeah, man, you're right. Like, this is and I would say thank you, and they're like, yeah, I passed your name along. Well, then I will immediately, take advantage of that, and be grateful that somebody, thinks of me, to be a part of it. So that feels good.
Oh yeah. It's and then from this end, it's really, and then what you were just saying too, it's also really a lot easier when you've got somebody else promoting you. Right? It's one thing to say, hey, check out my music or check out my show and see how awesome it is. And then you have somebody else that's a trusted source saying, you need to see this show, or you need to listen to this person, or whatever. That goes a long way.
That's my job. That's what I put myself in a situation where I'm at everybody's service, and I think the people that are hesitant should just know that that's what I'm here for.
So I got a question for you.
Sure.
Are we out of time? Do we have another moment or two? Or
no, go ahead.
Okay. So So I just approved masters for another release, but it's a Christmas release.
Okay.
Um, do you guys, what's going on with Christmas music and surf these days? Have you heard much? I mean, I know that the Ventures have something. I know the Straight Jackets have put some stuff out. I've heard some stuff here and there, but I don't see a ton. Like, are you aware of anything happening out there from like Christmas surf or?
Yeah, I think you may find some on High Tides
Mm-hmm.
website.
Oh, the suffragettes, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they had something. You there's probably going to be a lot available on Double Crown's website.
Okay.
But the Tourmaliners, do you know who the Tourmaliners are?
I do, and I feel like oh no, I was going to say they were at the Southern Surf Stomp, but no, they weren't. It was somebody else that had a similar name. Anyway, keep going.
Well,
Didn't mean to derail you.
Devin, the guitar player for the Tourmaliners, is also in the Safaris with his dad, who's a founding member of the Safaris and was a co-writer of Wipeout.
No way. Amazing.
And they put out a wonderful surf album. And I don't know if you follow the Ravenettes at all. They're more like a duo, but they have a lot of reverb and it's kind of surfy.
Yeah.
The guitar player soon started in the Tremola Beer Gut, which is another band you should check out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where he got his start. That was his band, and then he went off to do something a little bit different, and that's where he is now. They just released a Christmas album.
Cool.
So I think, and there's a ton more I can't think of right off the head.
So there's some out there. I just haven't seen a lot when I do kind of a cursory search online, and I'm just like, I wonder, I think everybody likes to release their own original music, right? But there's a lot of fun stuff to kind of reimagine, right?
I would definitely check those websites out. Like
absolutely.
Bandcamp, especially. I think you'll stumble across things a little bit more directly on Bandcamp
than Spotify or Apple Music or something.
Oh, I don't know about those two. I mean, like more so than visiting like websites.
Yeah.
I don't use Apple or Spotify that much, which I probably should. But Bandcamp is a huge resource because you can stream and you can also purchase media there.
Right. No, it's been a great tool, and it's the first time I've actually used it to release anything, and I just think it's really cool. There's, we were talking about community earlier. It seems like there's definitely a community of fans and musicians and producers there as well. It's just kind of fun. So
yeah, it would be to your benefit to mix it up with the crowd on there. You can really you can meet a lot of people, and a lot of musicians, surf musicians, wind up collaborating just for meeting on Bandcamp.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be fun. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks. I want to throw that out there and just get your 2-cent take on that.
Yeah,
cool.
Another guy to reach out with that would be able to answer that question, and probably would, is Hunter King from Storm Surge of Reverb.
Yeah, he was kind enough to play a couple songs from this record a while back, and he's again, that guy seems like a virtual encyclopedia of surf.
Exactly.
Right.
He really is. He's a wealth of knowledge. And
WTUL, right? Tulane. Yeah, down in New Orleans.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Cool guy.
Yeah, definitely. And he goes to like all the shows.
Yeah.
I got to meet him briefly in 2022 at SG 101. That was like coming right out of COVID, so it wasn't as big.
Yeah.
But it was still pretty magical. So that's an experience I think should be on your bucket list.
Yeah, absolutely want to check that out. Yeah, Big Tiki dude, right?
Yeah, he's the guy to talk to. Also, Art Burso from Music. He's his partner in crime when it comes to putting that together. This last year was pretty huge.
Were you at it? Did you attend?
No. But I know a lot of the bands that were on there.
Yeah.
Like I would have liked to see LHD, like the former bandy molesters.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, you know, with scheduling and sometimes visas from people in Europe or elsewhere.
Right. It's always challenging.
Yeah, they're a little bit unpredictable. Not the bands, like the process of getting them here.
Just getting there, it's a journey, depending on where you're coming from, no doubt.
Yeah. So I want to thank you again so much, Chai, for coming on the show. The band's the album's right here, vinyl or digital copies. Go get yourself at the link below a copy, and you won't regret it. It's a super clean sounding surf record.
Thanks, Ryan. I really appreciate you having me on the show. It was a real pleasure.
Please join our Patreon page to get special behind-the-scenes footage and segments exclusive to Patreon, YouTube updates, also a sneak peek of what's coming next week, a merch, and also services, free flash drive exclusively for segments in the band.